What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be jumping into bench setup, bench execution, and how you can kind of pick what style of benching is going to be benching. Oh, that's benching. Good. Benching. What style of benching is going to be really good for you based on your anatomy, based on your skill level, based on your size. All of these things will be taken into consideration with choosing a bench setup. So first and foremost, there's a lot of ways to bench. I'm sure you guys have seen a million different videos on how to bench this way, how to bench this way, whatever. The point of today is I want you to think critically about what your goals are, what your anatomical size is, what your age is, what all these things are going to be put into consideration with determining what style of bench is good for you. First and foremost, we're going to start with that hand position. You've heard of close, you've heard of wide, you've heard of a legal grip, all of these things. This is all based on your size. If you are a wider lifter, if you have more muscle mass, your wide is not going to be the same as the wide of somebody who is smaller. I always base this on shoulder width, right? So for Alex, I would say this would be a wide grip because he is substantially outside of his shoulders. If we were going to bring him into a closer grip, it does not mean that he needs to come in all the way. This is not the universal close grip. This is a great way to jack your shoulders up and look really, really stupid. What you need to be basing your close versus wide grip is on those shoulders, on your shoulder width. So what I would say for him, if this is, so are you normally pinkies on the ring? Where are you normally?
I normally go pinkies on the ring, and then this for me would be like a close-ish grip.
Close-ish, that's perfect. You're looking for closer than your wider grip. It doesn't have to be all the way in, it doesn't have to be all the way out. The idea is it's based around your anatomy, based around your size and shape. So let's go through an entire setup as if Alex was going to be benching wide. So we'll set up your wider grip. For here, we're going to go index finger on the ring for him. So that's out wide. I would say this is as wide as he can legally go in a competition. So what we're going to be doing, focusing in on the bar path. When you have a wider grip, you need to compensate by having a larger arch. What that means is if you are less flexible, if you are less mobile, going out super, super wide may not be the best thing for you. So we're gonna start, kind of set up and kind of adjust as we go. So unrack the bar for me. Good. This is not technically bad, but we're gonna adjust a few things based on him wanting to go wide. So what we need to really focus in on, you can rack it. What we need to focus in on is creating the best counter force for the bar. What we mean by that is the force that we are driving into the floor that helps us push that bar straight up. With a wider bar path, you're gonna be focusing more on going straight up and straight down because that chest is elevated, that range of motion is less, and that bar path needs to go straight up and down. So that means we need to put our feet as close as we can to underneath us. So this is where you're gonna see the smaller lifters, the more flexible lifters to be able to really corkscrew their bodies into this massive arch. But what you're gonna notice is that their feet are always driving straight down. So what I want Alex to do, go all the way to your toes. I want you to be as arched as you possibly can. Good. Now what you're thinking about with this massive arch is driving those heels straight down. So you're creating force straight down into the ground to counteract that bar going straight up. You need to meet that force right in the middle. So when we unrack, we'll set up. And now what we want to think about is a bar path that goes straight up, straight down. Perfect. Pressing those feet aggressively into the ground. Good, rack.
Far off the bench here.
Yeah, that's all right. So a couple of things that you need to focus in on if this is the setup for you. Again, smaller lifters, more flexible lifters, those who have the advantageous body composition to be able to get into that massively arched position. This is how I would want you to bench. Wider grip, bigger arch, vertical leg drive. Couple things when you're training like this, you need to make sure that when you are unracking the bar, you have a spotter. With this variation, what you're gonna notice is that if I just have Alex unrack the bar, he's not able to set himself up as tight as he normally would. So when you are going wide, I would always suggest getting a spotter that lifts the bar up as you pull or lat row that bar into position. Ready? Give me the count.
3, 2, 1.
Up, and let him bring it out, down, up, rack. Beautiful. So you can rest. So that's the wider, more arched position for the bench. The next one we're gonna be going over is for larger guys, larger females, larger people with more muscle mass, or just wider chests and rib cages, and it's a closer grip. Now what we're gonna be doing is, again, Alex, we're gonna get a little bit closer here. Perfect. So now he's in his normal grip, a little bit closer than normal. Perfect. What you wanna think about: hand position, bring it in a little bit closer than normal. Foot position, we're gonna be focusing in, starting with the heel under the knee. Now, instead of thinking about driving straight down into the ground to create that counter force, we're trying to push ourselves across the bench. So now what you're gonna see is if somebody has that J path to a bench, which usually when they have a closer in grip, they're gonna be getting that J path, you're going to be pushing against that and driving yourself across the bench. So let's see it a little bit closer. So now what he's gonna be doing is he's gonna be bringing it down a little farther and pushing it back over his face. Yep, down, trying to keep, and if you can see from the side here, trying to keep the joints lined up, elbows under the bar. Good, bring it down a little bit farther, good, perfect. Give me one more, finishing up a little higher, good. So as you can see, he's creating that counter force, pushing himself across, and when he gets into that position, he's driving those legs, shooting himself across the bench, and throwing that bar back over his face. Unracking, if you have a closer grip. This is something that you need to really focus in on, because as you have that closer grip, and if you try to extend those shoulders to unrack, it's gonna be impossible to pack those scaps and get that upper back tight. So what we want to focus in on is utilizing the hips to unrack the bar. So from this position, Alex is going to get his feet locked in, drive his hips up to allow him to unrack the bar, even up, like off the bench. Like, yeah, good. And now settle the hips and lock it in. Drive. Good. Give me a couple, yeah. That's fine. Nope, you're good. Just rack it. So we'll do that again. So what you want to focus in when you're unracking with a closer grip on bench is not utilizing your shoulders to unrack the bar. Instead, utilize your hips. So what you're going to notice is he allows his hips to come off the bench, and it helps him unrack that bar, locking those hips down, locking those scaps in place, and getting a couple reps. Good. Rack it. If you do not utilize your hips, what's gonna happen is that those shoulder blades are gonna come out of position. You wanna lock those things in. You wanna lock those things in down and hard and back with your scaps, and you don't wanna move them. We need to use your lower half to help unrack that bar, because as soon as there's weight on that bar and you overextend with those shoulder blades, you're not gonna be able to get them into a position that you're stable and able to put force through them with. One of the things that we need to focus in on when you are training these specific styles of bench is understanding the line of force and what muscles you need to be focusing in on in your training specifically to get the most out of each style of bench variation. So we're gonna demonstrate, let's go to that wide grip again, that wide grip setup. We'll get those feet under you. Good, so unrack. So what I want you to look at, yep, right there. Just do one rep, nice and slow, down, up. I would actually bring it, you're gonna probably touch right in there. Yeah, actually touch a little bit higher for this demo. Good, do a few reps there. Good, so what you're gonna notice is if I were to draw a line, nope, keep that bar out there for me. If I was to draw a line from this bar straight down Alex's body, you're gonna notice that that line of force goes directly into his upper back, his rear delts, and all of the external rotators of that shoulder. So if I'm a wide grip bencher and I want to make sure that I'm getting the most out of my bench, I'm gonna spend a crap load of time working on my upper back, my external rotators, and my rear delts. The bigger and stronger you can get those muscles, the more of a stable platform that you can have to produce force from. So now we'll rack it and we'll switch to a closer grip. Making your work today?
Yeah, a little bit.
So with a closer grip, as we went over, it goes into that J-shaped pattern, right? It doesn't have that straight up and down force vector. So what we need to focus in on is what are the muscles that will be the most important when utilizing this style of benching, and what accessories you should focus in on if this is your style of benching you prefer. First and foremost, we'll take the bar out. Now when you're doing this way, what you're going to be finding is that that bar is going to sink a little bit lower. Good. And up. And the closer your grip is, the more you need to really focus in on, and bring it down, the fact that your triceps and your anterior delts are going to be doing a lot of the work. Not only that, but it depends on your rib cage size and rib cage sort of width. You may be getting a lot more pec involved as well. So for my closer grip benchers, the key will be to focusing in on triceps, front delts, getting a lot of pec work, because what you're going to be doing is focusing in on the muscles that are going to be taking the brunt of that force. As always, you never want to exclude your lats, you never want to exclude your upper back. I'm just saying that if you are focusing on a particular style of bench, there are better ways to program your accessories, better ways of growing your bench than just doing very generic exercises that you may see other people doing. So that's what we got for the bench press for today. I hope you enjoyed. Take home message I want you guys to really focus in on is understand how you do these movements, how you bench, what your setup is, because that's how you get better. You need to understand how you are doing something, understand what you need to work on specifically, the weaknesses, the positions, the stability, everything that encompasses what you do in the weight room needs to come down to specifically for you and your goals. So I hope this video helped. As always, I hope you enjoyed this. Like, subscribe, share it with your friends, enemies, whoever. I will see you guys in the next one.